All right, we'd like to call this meeting to order. If you don't mind, we will stand for our invocation, and our invocation will be done by Councilman Brian Braddock.
Thank y'all. Y'all will us bow our heads in prayer. Lord, I praise you and I thank you for this opportunity to gather today and serve you, Lord, and serve our citizens and our constituents in the Florence area. Lord, I pray that in all that we do, that we would first seek to show mercy, that we would seek to make peace, that we would refrain from mocking those with different views and beliefs than our own, that we would prioritize reconciliation over winning disputes, avoid scandals, tell the truth, and above all things, that we would seek to bring glory and honor to you in all that we say and do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Now we will have our Chief Shannon Tanner to lead us in Pledge of Allegiance. Chief Tanner has 40 years in the business of fire, and he has 28 years with the city of Florence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Council, we have 2 meeting minutes to approve. Ben, do we do those separate, or I can lump them together? Separate? Okay. Council, January 9th through 10th, 2025, work session meeting minutes. What say you?
Second.
It has been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have February 10th, regular meeting. What say you?
So moved.
It has been moved in second. All those in favor? Next, we have honors and recognitions. Service recognitions that we have. Jose, Guzman, beautification and facilities.
All right, it's my honor. Thank you, Mayor. It's my honor today to recognize not only one of my favorite coworkers, but definitely one of my favorite people. Mr. Jose Guzman began his 20-year career with the city of Florence on March 14, 2005 as a maintenance worker in the public works department. During his tenure with the city, Jose won many hats in the department, including right-of-way maintenance, pothole and asphalt repairs, urban forestry maintenance, parks and athletic facility maintenance, storm response, downtown maintenance, and many others. The list really could go on and on because he wears a lot of hats. Notably, Jose played an integral part in many downtown special projects, which most of you know the James Allen Plaza and the Roy Adams Breezeway. He goes above and beyond what is expected to ensure our public spaces are well maintained and safe for all to enjoy, even in the most challenging of conditions. Jose consistently exceeds the expectations of the division and department in the city of Florence. Please join me in thanking Jose for 20 years of service.
Next, we have William Mitchell, 10 years, fire department. And try to center.
It's my pleasure to give William Ben Mitchell, we call him Ben, his service recognition 10 years of service. Ben started his career in the fire service over 15 years ago as a volunteer in one of the county departments.
started here in the city 10 years ago on March the 9th, 2015, as a firefighter. He was initially assigned to Station 1 on Palmetto Street. Then eventually moved to Station 3 on Ediscote. In 2017, he was promoted to firefighter driver and was assigned to Station 4 until 2024. Last year, he was promoted to captain, and now he serves as a company officer at Station 5, which is on Engine 151, which is on the south side of town. Ben's greatest passion to fire service is hands-on work. He likes to fight fire, help those in the time of need. His commitment in protecting the community and his leadership on the fire ground makes him a very, very valuable asset to the department and to the community. So please help me congratulate Ben on his 10 years of service.
Next, we have appearance before court. Council, I'm sorry. Appearance before council, John Cox. Hi, Mr. Cox. You can go there.
Good afternoon, panel. I just had a couple of concerns. The first concern is there's probably not much you guys can do about, and that's the homeless. The only issue that I really have with the homeless is I see them out pandering on public property, and I think something should be done about that.
Okay.
And then my other issue is, which is to me is more serious, the litter issue. That I have a real problem with. Everywhere I go in Florence, there's litter all over the place, and it really makes the city look bad. And it's embarrassing to know that I can live in such a beautiful city to see litter all over the place. Is there any plans in the making that we can do to take care of this?
Okay.
Ms. Cox, thank you so much for being here. I would ask our city manager, Scotty, if you don't mind, just to address the issue of what the city does with regard to both homelessness as well as litter. I think informing the public is important to know what we're doing on both fronts.
Certainly, thank you. Relative to homeless, the city has a number of programs to work with the homeless. One of our programs is our No One Unsheltered program. We provide $75,000 to an entity to assist the homeless. For example, our police department, when they're in the field and they approach homeless individuals, they can take them to different shelters that we have throughout the community, and we'll use that $75,000 to pay for assistance there. We also work in other agencies for those that are near homeless. If you have a house and it's in disrepair, we have through our community services department, we can repair those homes and assist in that manner as well.
And with regard to littering?
Littering, certainly a major problem in our community. We work with our police department. Also work with Keep Florence Beautiful in Florence County. We provide $10,000 to Keep Florence Beautiful. There we provide a number of cleanups in the area. There we have 2 staff that's dedicated to going out into our community and addressing those issues of litter that our sanitation department doesn't address. With our sanitation department, they're picking up about 500 to 700 households per day. So if there's litter in an area that doesn't have a trash can there, they really don't have the time to stop because, again, they're on production and they have to get all of those homes. So we've identified 2 staff persons, and they can go on call to pick up those areas, litter areas. When we have issues with litter, dumping sites. Our police department work, we've actually put up cameras in those areas to try to, signs up to prevent it, and cameras to catch those that are littering in our community. But it does take partnerships. We have a number of adopt a highway signs that we've worked with, organizations that will adopt highways. Again, Keep Florence Beautiful, $10,000 there, and we do have pickups throughout the year.
And if I'm not mistaken, also, there are different neighborhood associations. The city works with the neighborhood
We have-
associations on doing cleanups in their different varying communities.
We have about 30 plus neighborhood associations, and then doing that at least once a year, we try to do cleanups in those neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods will adopt that neighborhood, adopt that street, and we provide bags and assistance there. Our police department works hand in hand with those organizations.
Thank you very much. I just wanted, Ms. Cox, for you to know kind of what the city's program is, because I think there's a question that may be out there. The community at large may not understand or know what all the city is doing, but I think we all appreciate the same concerns. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor.
Councilwoman Neesmith Jackson wants to say something.
Scotty, there's Keeping Florence Beautiful have a big event coming up next month, right? April, I think 20th or something like that. Is it possible for people to request streets or neighborhoods to be cleaned up or to go on the list during that time, or how does that work?
Yes, the Keep Florence Beautiful campaign, again, as talked about, the city will provide funding there. I think they have a website. You can go on their website and sign up, and generally neighborhood associations will sign up there. And also, if you call the city, we work, again, closely with them, 843-665-3113. 843-665-3113. We work in conjunction with them and certainly can give you their direct number. I don't have it with me right now, but you certainly can go online and find that information about the cleanups.
And I think, Councilman, you were
One more thing.
finished?
Will he be able to refer whatever neighborhood or area that he feels like is?
A lot of the trash I see, or most of it, is along like Irby Street, the real main streets.
Okay.
I
North
mean,
or south? South?
both up this way and going toward Effingham. I had a friend who drives to Lake City all the time, and she says that there's just, the median is just covered in trash.
Okay. Yes, and we could work on that. I do know a fraternity group that has the North Irby Street organization clean up there, but we can work through that process.
Yeah, on the south side.
Somebody who's smiling. Councilman Braddock wanted to say something.
Yeah, one other thing that we did, Mr. Cox, as I recall, we increased the fines and penalties for litter a couple years ago.
Yes, sir, we've done that. That is true.
Just
Is that is that being enforced? Can we put police out there to monitor everything?
Well, I'm sure that you
Because
could call like codes and let them know. But another issue, like you said, down Irby is you're in the city and out the city, and that's a thoroughfare. So I think that unfortunately, people are just coming off of 52 straight down Irby Street. Mm-hmm. At times they'll be in the city, at times they'll be in the county, but that trash and that debris, just really gets scattered all the way down. So it's just it's difficult. But if you report it, then we would certainly send someone out.
And I've also noticed too that on public property of like businesses, I've seen bags of trash in the parking lot in people's businesses.
A lot of times, most times, businesses are where the city and the county lines kind of go in and out on Second Loop Road. Pretty much everything on the left side will be, the residential will be in the city, the businesses will be in the county, because you have to choose to annex into the city. We can't aggressively annex people in, and so that's another thing in terms of just the limitations that we have to impose any kind of penalties or anything on businesses that are located in the county.
Okay. Thank you so much for your concern, because it is our concern too. We want our beautiful city to shine. So thank you so much. And if you know of anything or need to contact, please call that number that was given.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what was that number again? It was
It's
843?
843-665-3113.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Council, next we have ordinance in position. It's bill number 2024-22. It's the second reading. This is an ordinance to amend Article 1, Chapter 3 of the City of Florence Code of Ordinance, add provisions related to prohibiting ownership or keeping livestock and wild animals and other matters related thereto.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Now we'll hear from you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Yes, just wanted to give an update on the progression of this ordinance since its introduction back in November of last year. We have worked with our city attorneys along with faculty from Francis Marion University to address a few of the questions that are out there. The main points being updating some of the language and just correcting some of the general information with genus and species that the biology professors reviewed and recommended to us. We also included some of the language that is in a proposed bill with the state regarding specifically venomous reptiles. So we have used language within that bill as well. That has not passed, so depending on how that progresses, or if it does progress, we may or may not have to revisit this in the future. But for right now, it is certainly meeting the same expectations and requirements with that state bill. Then we also added some clarifying language around the transport of such animals that are prohibited within this ordinance, just to make clear that if anyone is transporting one of these animals to a veterinary clinic or a rehab facility or any of those facilities that are exceptions within this ordinance, that is not that's not an issue, and nor will they receive a ticket or anything of that nature. And then one of the other minor changes that we made is the increase in the weight of the animals, specifically with baboons, chimpanzees, and the like. If you look at Section 3, subsection A, we increased that to be over 15 pounds, which would not be permitted. And those were the total amendments with this.
Thank you so much, Clint. It has been moved in second. If there's no discussion,
Nobody signed up to
Councilman.
speak.
there's no one that signed up to speak.
And I think my only pause is that we are in session right now to see, how the House picks this up and votes on this. And, if there wasn't any kind of law or anything up for debate right now or with the potential to be passed, I would probably be more inclined to go ahead and pass this ordinance. But I think if the state could take the lead, I think it would put us in a better position if we had time to wait and just defer until then.
Okay, Council.
So, following up on that, how would it work? Let's say we went ahead and passed this on second reading, and then, and maybe this is a question for our city attorney, I'm not sure, but then Columbia decides to do something up there at the state level. What is the process that we would go through?
We would amend the ordinance if there were any changes that were to be needed. Typically, and this is a very common thing that occurs, municipal association will review new state bills that have passed and send out information regarding hey, if you have this ordinance in place, these are some of the things that you need to comply with state law, and we would just go through this same process that we are now, amending our current ordinance to meet the new state law.
So that would be no different for this ordinance as opposed to any other ordinance that the state were to make some changes to.
That's correct.
Councilman Braddock.
Do we know, is that bill in committee? Have people signed on to it? What's the
Yes.
likelihood that because they got some big fish to fry with
Yeah.
court and energy and some other.
It was introduced a few weeks ago, and I think it's in the agricultural, I forget which specific committee, but ag and that committee. So we don't really know or have a gauge on the
Given all the other things that they have.
That's right.
And so we come back to the reason that we did this work for the safety of the community. And so I want us to keep that in mind. We do understand that whatever happens at the state will always supersede what we do, and we understand that. But we are here because there was venomous snakes in a close area, which made our community unsafe. And so I think that it is proper that we do what we need to do to make our community safe. And so if there is no other discussion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Thank you, Clint. Next, we have an ordinance, bill number 2025-03, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the Code of Ordinance of the City entitled Building, Construction, and Related Activities to establish Article 15, vacant and abandoned resident, commercial, and industrial building registration.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Just a quick update
So,
on.
move.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Move.
Second it. So there is a second, so now.
Jumped the start a little bit. I
Yes.
apologize. This is the amended version of the vacant and abandoned residential, commercial, and industrial building registry. This ordinance was introduced in January of this year, and after meeting with some of our local stakeholders here and listening to some of their recommendations, as well as some of the recommendations from this body, this is the final version of that ordinance. And the main points that have changed within the ordinance specifically is the designation of what is being defined as Category 2 level buildings to be an exception as well, that will not have to register with us. So those would be within the ordinance. We have three categories that are established. The first being ones that are vacant and abandoned. However, they're not contributing to blight. The property owners are maintaining them. They've just sat there vacant and abandoned for years. The second being those that have some minor code infractions. Typically, this would be maybe a window has been broken, or there are some cosmetic issues, grass not being maintained. However, they have addressed those issues. We would typically, through codes enforcement, contact the property owner and make sure that those issues are addressed. So as long as they are meeting those requirements within the International Property Maintenance Code, they would not be required to register. And I believe it is certainly council's intent and the organization's intent to address those buildings that the roofs are falling in, that are a magnet for crime, and are an addition for blight within our neighborhoods and our business districts. And so we are focusing on those Category 3 level properties, which are the ones that are falling in are a major nuisance. The second being the addition of a different set of fees to be applied for the commercial and industrial buildings. And then finally, the last amendment being an effective date of January 1st of next year. So this will allow us to work administratively to determine where everything is housed, where we manage that essentially, and start contacting some of those property owners so that we can allow them to go ahead and be proactive in addressing some of these concerns before the ordinance is in effect.
Okay, we will hear from Councilman JaVale.
Clint, real quick, one of the changes I see is the addition of the words "and abandoned."
Yes.
So if you could just briefly tell us,
Yes.
Before it just said vacant, and now it says vacant and abandoned.
Yes, we just wanted to clarify, there was a little concern about an example was brought up in a strip mall, say. They have a space that is vacant for lease, and they've just not been able to fill that space. Those are certainly nowhere near. We aren't concerned with those at all. Those are being managed by a real estate firm or property management firm, and they're actively pursuing tenants to take those leases. So we just wanted to clarify that the buildings that we are seeking the correction with are those that are vacant and abandoned.
Okay, thank you.
With like situations where we offer money for frontage and different things like that, if someone's roof caved in, and they were in a financial situation, would there be a path where we could participate and then have like a lien on that building for that if there was a financial hardship situation?
Yeah, so we currently have a program now that addresses that issue where there are individuals that own properties that do not have the financial means to do that. Right now, actually, I can look to Jerry, but I don't believe that we place a lien on those that show financial hardship until when they get redeveloped, we remove those liens. So we're already addressing that issue. One of the remedies to the if we cite them and register them is a donation of the property. If they say we don't have the financial means, or they don't want to put forward the financial means to correct the issue, they can donate that property to the city, and we will then address that issue ourselves.
I have a question.
Okay.
Clint, you said that it's a program now. What's the name of the program?
It is through our community services department, and what's the name of it?
It's talking about our demolition program.
Yeah.
We just call it the demolition.
I thought you were talking about fixing roofs or something.
No. And the question, let me, if I may, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
when you have properties that the roof is falling in and those things, we do have funding in our CDBG Community Development Block Grant area. Those funds can be ascertained to repair homes and not businesses, but homes. There, we don't have funding set aside for businesses. As Mr. Moore was talking about, this is a demolition. If we decide to demolish that property, we can do that and then place a lien on it. If you're over income, if you're under income, we won't put that lien on it. And it's a 5-year lien.
So there's nothing for financial hardship for businesses?
For businesses, no, we do not have that.
Is that like I'm sorry. Madam.
Go ahead.
Is that like a law, or is that an ordinance, or is that a choice that we make? How do we? Can we use CDBG for a situation like that?
For businesses?
Yes.
Can you? Generally, on CDBG, when you're using it for businesses, you have to show that you are maintaining that business and or adding employees to that business, so it's under the economic development umbrella. So can you probably, but it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. We also have some other guidelines on that with 20% with monies, there are percentages that you can use, and so it would depend on where we're using other funds there. We haven't used that
That's all. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't arbitrary, that there were some policies and procedures that kind of guided our hand on whenever we could do that.
Can we have attorney?
And Madam Mayor, members of council, if I could also add, with CDBG, you have a 5-year plan that you set forth your priorities that HUD approves, and your activities fall under that particular plan. There are a lot more limitations when it comes to commercial buildings for use for rehab, as opposed to residential facilities. So that might be something, if there's further interest, could be looked at later. But you have to fall within that 5-year plan of the activities you set forth to HUD to do.
And that's not in our current plan.
Okay, that's it? All right, it's been moved in second, so can we vote? All those in favor? Aye. Opposes? The ayes have it. Next, we have bill number 2025-06, an ordinance to annex and zone CG the property located at Gilbert Drive and Freedom Boulevard, identified as Florence County Tax Map Number 00178-01-244.
Move to approve.
Second.
It has been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Next, we have bill number 02507. It is an ordinance to annex zone RG3. The property is located at 1001 Tunbridge Place and 3740 West Lake Drive, identified as Florence County Tax Map Number 00751-01-275 and 00751-01-282. What say you?
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Next, we have bill number 2025-09. It is the second reading of ordinance to amend the City of Florence Unified Development Ordinance relating to the Flood Hazard District to maintain compliance with the current Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, regulations and adopt the revised flood insurance rate map. What say you?
Second.
It has been moved in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have bill number 2025-10. It's the second reading. It is an ordinance of the City of Florence, South Carolina, to imposing a temporary moratorium on final approval of development plans and other approvals relating to the properties that contain cemeteries for the purpose of enabling consideration by the city council and the recommendation relating to amendments to development regulations of the city regarding cemeteries, and further invoking the pending ordinance doctrine with respect to such temporary moratorium in anticipation of such amendments. What say you?
So moved.
Second it.
Just one comment. Which one of our attorneys' teams wrote that up? Ben.
Got it.
Then he raised his hand.
Very, very well said.
Madam Mayor.
Very much so.
Thank you.
We have Councilman Braddock.
Just for clarity, I just want to make sure there was one situation that kind of spurred us to look into this. Have we cleared that?
Yes, we have gone into in agreement with the current developer, and there's someone, I believe they have finished now, delineating some of that that we will then transfer to the city. So as soon as we get that information from the professional that is doing the GPR scanning of the property, we'll address that.
Okay. Yes. Councilman Smith, you have something to say? All right. So we're ready to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Next, we have bill number 2025-11. It's the second reading. reading. It's an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of surplus city property of approximately .319 acres on a portion of Florence County Tax Map 00147-01-023, located at Jenny O'Brien Avenue, back to Floyd Family Properties LLC. Such city properties having been initially conveyed to the city of Florence for the purpose of constructing a sports complex and a road accessing such complex.
So moved.
What say you?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Next, we go to introduction of ordinance. We have bill number 2025-08. It's a first reading, an ordinance to adopt the updated downtown design standard for the city of Florence. What say you?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Jerry?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to give a brief overview of the updated standards that was presented to us by Bolton and Mink, the consultants that we hired to help us with this. The funding for this was partially through federal funding. It was through the State Historic and Preservation Office, SHPO. They administered federal grants that were administered to the city, and then there was also some general funds that paid for this update. So just a quick overview, it's divided into three sections essentially. The new update. It's Florence by Design, which is Chapter 1, which goes into the reasoning behind the guidelines, and it speaks to the various districts. It has maps that outline them, and we'll go through some of this briefly as well. And then it gets into the process in the second section, which is the submittal, the administrative process as to how it is administered. And then part 3 is the actual meat of the guidelines, where it gets into the standards. So in the first section, Florence by Design, it does show its alignment with current policies such as the Unified Development Ordinance, the Comprehensive Plan, and the Downtown Master Plan. It also goes over some general design principles which are common to all of the 7 downtown districts, which all of these should be cohesive amongst all of the districts. It then gets into the different district maps. None of the overlay districts are changing. We still have the 7 districts that we've always had. The new guidelines do introduce this tier system, and that's in an effort to make the document more user-friendly. So it divides it into 5 tiers and groups each one of the either 1 or 2 of the various districts, and 3 for tier 4 into the various tiers. So as you go through the document, it tells you which tiers would be applied for the various standards. So this is an attempt to make it a bit more user-friendly for the public, so you're not having to flip through the document quite as much. And the tier system is referred to throughout the document so that it tries to clarify that as you move forward. And number 2, the process. So one thing that's added is this nice flow chart over on the right that takes individuals through the approval process, and then it would define it and give it either a minor project or a major project. And in subsequent charts here, it outlines what would be considered a major project versus a minor project. And with minor projects, they can have staff level approval. This helps a lot of our smaller projects move through the process a lot quicker. The Design Review Board really appreciated this process and this being outlined in the new document. This is one thing they had been pushing for, and it does show up in this document. So that if you're just, simply painting your building or portions of your building, then as long as they meet the historical palette, we can approve that administratively. But if it's either it doesn't meet the historical palette, or if it's a much larger project, maybe they're painting brick over brick that's not allowed, this would then trigger it to go to the design review board. So this is one thing that the design review board had asked for, and we have incorporated. Then we move into the standards section, and this is the kind of the meat and potatoes. This goes through the various aspects of the public realm, site design, as well as the building design. So, you know, the public realm is how the building might interact with the public space, like plazas, sidewalks, streetscape, things of that nature. Site design gets to building placement, height, things of that nature, and then building design gets into, you know, the various details of the building, windows, doors, building materials, things of that nature. And you know, with site design, it talks about building placement. One thing that was added in the new design guidelines is building height. That wasn't very addressed very well in the old guidelines. It's addressed very well in the new guidelines. Talks about transition from one overlay district to another, and the transitions in height that should occur at those transitions. It talks about open space requirements, which is a new thing in this document, as well as it more robustly addresses outdoor dining. That was very loosely addressed in the last design guidelines. Also screening materials, landscape and stormwater, and parking, and it speaks to parking minimums in our downtown, so, or parking maximum rather. Instead of having a minimum number of spaces, it talks about maximum numbers of spaces such that we can somewhat limit the amount of parking that occurs downtown and allow shared parking in many instances, which isn't necessarily allowed in other areas of the city. Again, with parking, we'll skip on over that. We move into building design. It talks about the, you know, generally the various districts and the character that the building should have in the various overlay districts. It addresses non-residential design as well as residential design. One thing that our old guidelines did not do very well was address residential design, especially within our Timron Park neighborhood. So this one does a very good job, and it speaks to projects that are both new construction and rehabilitation or rehab work. So if you're building a new home or a new business, or if you are rehabbing a structure and just replacing windows or doors or doing general work of that nature. Also, this particular, or this update provides good franchise architecture guidance. As you know, the new Bojangles is coming downtown, so it addresses, you know, a lot of times franchises have certain elements that they have to incorporate into their design, and this gives us some options but allows us to regulate that so that, you know, we might not have a normal looking McDonald's or Bojangles or Subway or any franchise that might locate downtown. They would still have to adhere to our guidelines. Also, drive-throughs are regulated. Signage is very similar, somewhat similar to the old one. We did incorporate some new materials into this document and provide some clarification where it was needed. We talk about the public realm in this one. The old document did this as well, but this one is more robust in that area, talking about how you know, the streets and the streetscape should look, as well as how buildings interact in that zone. Talks about pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and as well as talks about things like wayfinding banners, public art installations, and things of that nature, and talks to which district or which tier many of these things could or could not be allowed. And one thing that towards the end that we had them add was a glossary. We felt that was, and this may need to be added too as we utilize this document, but we thought that that would be very useful for both staff and users of this document. And both the Design Review Board and the Planning Commission looked over this document, and both bodies unanimously approved the design guidelines. And this would also require an update or an amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance because this document is referenced in the Unified Development Ordinance. So we would just need to update that language to refer to this document instead of the old guidelines. And this
Okay.
concludes staff's report.
Councilman McCall.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So stay with me here to make sure we're on the same page.
Sure.
First question I have is how does this relate to the downtown development? I guess the comprehensive plan. Like, is this a requirement to have it, or just something that the city does to make sure our designs are in place? Or?
Well, the comprehensive plan, I mean, I think it definitely recommends that we have downtown design guidelines. And in the last comprehensive update in the downtown master plan, it recommended that we take a fresh look at this and update it. So I think it's we're 100% following our comprehensive plan by making this update per se.
And I didn't see that. Maybe I maybe missed the part, but I didn't see. Does it address abandoned buildings in here? I know my thing is if we just voted to do abandoned buildings for demolition, is it in here?
It's not necessarily in this document because this is centered around rehabilitation and new construction projects. However, in our underlying code, both through the bill that was just passed, or the ordinance that was just passed regarding vacant and abandoned buildings, that is one mechanism we would have to go after these buildings. But we also have downtown appearance and maintenance codes that we've used in the past for years, since probably 2010-ish, 10-ish, that we have used to help with the problem that you're describing.
Okay. Not finished. Two more things. One for the minor review, where there's staff review. Is that who does that?
That would be the planning department in conjunction with sometimes we seek outside help from sometimes members of our design review board or experts in the community if we have questions.
Okay. All right. The last question. Well, next to last question. If you don't reel me in. Next to last question is, okay, so I'm looking on here, and I know we have some concerns by some people downtown about the residents and stuff, but there is so I guess it has tier 3, the residential district. Is that that's not saying that we only should allow for residential to be in that
the residential area referred to in here is the Timrod Park Overlay District, which is pretty much all residential in that area. And the other areas within our central business district and our downtown area are all mixed use districts where you would have the mixture of residential various types as well as commercial uses.
Okay, then last thing here is I see in here it requires that, and I know that it's a big talking point in the State House, but of far as insurance requirement, it appears that it's $1 million requirement for you to be down here, which is an issue for a lot of the businesses that's down there who cannot afford that $1 million coverage. I know the House just passed a liquor liability law, but for us to then make it it's another requirement for you have to have $1 million. I think we need to take a look at that portion because I think you're having a hard time of businesses being able to afford it. I know a lot of insurance companies have left the area because it's tough and then businesses cannot afford it. I know a lot of the businesses are going through loops to try to get some type of coverage, but I think for us to have it mandated that you have to have $1 million coverage to be downtown, I think it might be tough. We put too much on our businesses. So.
Okay, we can take a look at that.
Okay, Braddock, I think. Braddock, Chipper, and then LaShawn. Okay.
I didn't see this in here, Jerry, and so one, I want to see if it could be added, and if not here, somewhere else. Any reference to ADUs, with our demand of housing, the lack of affordable housing, one of the things that the UDO did was remove the use of auxiliary housing for a mother-in-law suite or for a college student, here in town, or a nurse, here in town. Is this somewhere that could be added in terms of a design of a new unit, but more importantly, the units that were out there already that the UDO really took out of our housing inventory?
Right. I think the appropriate area to address that would be our Unified Development Ordinance within our zoning code. And it's funny you say that, because staff is actually working on an ADU amendment that we hope to be bringing forward to Planning Commission and Council in the coming months. When we originally adopted the Unified Development Ordinance, we had an ADU section in it. However, amongst the reviews and various portions of that, the majority of that was removed from the code. However, we'd like to put some of that back in the code and make for some allowances of ADUs from a staff level.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. I mean, we have college students coming here, nursing students, for 2 and 3 months, and there's nowhere for them to stay.
Come into a council meeting near you.
That's right.
Good commercial. Next, we have Councilman Shipley.
Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. We did have a public hearing, hearing the design review. Am I saying that correctly?
We did. Throughout this process, we had several public input sessions as part of the design and the update. They were actually held here in council chambers. And then once the draft was complete, we held a public hearing at both Planning Commission and the Design Review Board. So there were multiple efforts, or opportunities for the public to comment.
Besides the concerns that you kind of heard from council, are there any other major concerns from any constituents or community members?
No, at the actual public hearing for the final document, we didn't have any public input. However, at the public input sessions, I think there was a lot of interactive type, poster boards and ways for the public to interact with staff and the consultants, and I think all of those were taken into account. And we had residents, business owners, and other stakeholders from the downtown present at those meetings.
Okay, next, Councilwoman.
All right. I want to address the noise ordinance thing, the 10 p.m. time thing that we have downtown. Again, being an entertainment district, people, of course, live, work, and play downtown and not retire. So these people who's moving downtown are doing so hopefully to live, work, and play. So I want us to kind of look at that time for 10 o'clock noise ordinance for downtown, especially if we're going to be an entertainment district. And what is the purpose of the $1 million requirement?
It's for the alcohol coverage for individuals. It's for the public spaces, correct, Clint? Is that right? For when individuals within the their public spaces serve alcohol, it's to cover such events as that.
So it's not all businesses, it's only businesses that are restaurant-related bar? Is that what it is?
That's correct, or they're having a public-facing event. Like in a plaza. Yeah, like in a plaza or within, is that right?
Yeah. So within the downtown, we have multiple public spaces that anyone can rent out, be it for a wedding or I'm trying to remember, the yoga studio used it as an outdoor space for holding a class. Anytime anyone uses one of our city-owned properties, our public spaces, they're required to have that insurance in place.
So not the businesses when they want to be downtown, is
That's right.
if they want to have an event, then they
must only on city-owned property.
Then they're required to obtain $1 million liability policy.
That's correct.
Got it.
Just for that event, right? And sign us as like an additionally insured?
That's correct.
That's right.
But after the event is over, the insurance is dropped, then they no longer have to carry it.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
City Manager, did you want to say something?
Yes, that's a requirement. The $1 million is a requirement for anybody doing work on city property. If they access city property for any event or doing any work, if someone comes in and have to work in this building, they have to have that $1 million, and that's a requirement of our insurance.
Well, that's because of the law that says in 2017, if you serve alcohol past 5 p.m., you're required to have $1 million coverage. But that's about to change. But if it's not a business, that's fine. If this is a one-day thing, I'm certain it's not too expensive. But I just want to make sure this is not being required for the businesses to have $1 million. They're about to change that now, and I don't want us to have something on top of that to say you have to still have $1 million of coverage. But
And I want to clarify that all businesses didn't require it just to move downtown.
Okay, let me give Councilman Jabali, and then I'll come back to you.
Just for clarification purposes, and I think the point's been raised, it's a good point, but what's in here deals not with any business that opens up in downtown. I mean, whatever that business may be, there's laws on the books, whether they remain as they are or they change, whether the state adjusts that. That's really not what this speaks to, as I understand it. It's just the use of our public spaces. When for whatever event that may be, that we have a requirement, which our insurance, our carrier requires for the city of Florence, that those who are using it have coverage in that amount.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's
yeah,
it?
I got a question. This doesn't address it. Sorry, you recognize it. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we got to get to the bottom. We got to make sure because I don't want us to be passing things and we ask questions.
Right.
So I don't see where it has anything about the noise ordinance. I don't think that's not addressing it.
Yeah, these are strictly design standards.
Okay.
They're not meant to regulate noise. That would be through our Unified Development Ordinance.
Okay.
Or our Code of Ordinances.
I just bring it up because I think Councilwoman Neesmith brought that up, so I was just making sure. Okay,
That changed.
that's it.
All right, we ready to vote? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? Let the record reflect it has passed. Next, we have Bill number 2025-13. This is an ordinance to amend the budget. 2012, I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. This is Bill number 2025-12. I'm sorry. An ordinance to annex and zone NC 6.1, the property located at Dexter Drive and Atwood Avenue, identified as the Florence County map number 00150-01-140. What say you?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. You wanted to talk, Jerry.
Thank you, Mayor. This property is located along Dexter Drive. It is on the corner of Atwood and Dexter. Here's the close-up of it. It's currently vacant property, and the current zoning is NC 15, which is a single-family detached only zoning district. It requires lots that are 100 foot wide and 15,000 square feet. So at its current zoning, you would be able to get approximately 4 lots out of this piece of property. It's approximately 450 feet long, so you could get 4 lots out of it. The future land use is neighborhood conservation, which is what the proposed is. I'm going to leave this chart up as we talk through this. I will note that this was brought before Planning Commission and City Council back in 2023. It was kicked back to Planning Commission and kicked around, and ultimately the requested zoning of NC 6.3 was denied by council, or dropped by council because of lack of a second. Enough time has passed. There's a 6-month requirement time interval before which the applicant can, or the property owner can make a like submittal. So plenty of time has passed. I think over a year has passed since all of this. So they're well within their right to resubmit this request. The submittal was made for NC 6.3. Their desire is to subdivide this property. They like the NC 6.3 because they could do single-family detached homes in that zoning district, and it would allow 50-foot wide lots, and which are 6,000 square feet. So you could get, in that zoning designation, you could get approximately 9 lots on this piece of property. However, this zoning designation also allows duplexes, townhomes, and multifamily. So from that standpoint, because of the location of this and its kind of proximity to single-family detached homes, staff recommended a zoning of NC 6.1, which only allows single-family detached homes, and it allows 60-foot wide lots and at 6,000 square feet of area, minimum area. So at that zoning designation, you could get approximately 7 lots out of this piece of property. However, we do know that there are some stormwater concerns associated with this property, and we don't think, because of some possible stormwater work that need to be done here, or some infrastructure that needs to be installed, none of those maximum potentials are likely to be achieved. So but again, that will be worked through as part, if it gets rezoned, as part of their development submittal for the property. I will point out that it was brought up at Planning Commission by the applicant, a zoning designation of NC 4, which allows even smaller lots, 40 square feet or 40 feet wide and 4,400 square feet. They were looking at doing cul-de-sac development like to the north of this piece of property. There are some cul-de-sacs on a similar sized piece of property with some very small lots, but it's all single-family detached homes. But again, those were very small lots compared to what was in that area, and this also allowed for duplex development. So ultimately, Planning Commission recommended NC 6.1 in agreement with staff, and that was a unanimous decision by Planning Commission.
Okay, now we'll have Councilman Bailey.
Two quick points about it, just to make sure I'm clear. The NC 6.1 that is currently before us, correct?
The request is for NC 6.3, so that is how the request came in. But Planning Commission and staff did recommend NC 6.1.
So we would need, if we wanted to pass NC 6.1, we would have to amend the ordinance that's presented to us?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Based on Planning Commission's recommendation.
And as I understand it, NC 6.1 would be single-family detached, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and up to 7 lots.
Up to 7 lots
But
potentially.
your understanding is that because of the concerns about stormwater, there may be a limitation on even doing 7 lots.
There may be, again.
Okay, and let's just talk about stormwater one time, because listen, we've all been in the mix about stormwater and development. And so if you can just recite for us one more time, when a development comes in, how does the process work to ensure that there's no additional impact of stormwater? So, right now you got soil and there's no concrete, there's no roof, there's no hard surfaces, and so you have a static situation of what currently exists with regard to runoff. Mm-hmm. Correct?
Correct.
And then you put construction in place, development in place, and now there is an impact on runoff, correct?
That's correct.
So how does the process work so that whatever the development that occurs, it takes into consideration the changes of hard surfaces to adequately address it so there's no additional stormwater runoff in the future than there is currently?
As part of their submittal for a development plan, at a staff review level, they would have to demonstrate that their post-construction runoff is the same or less than their pre-construction runoff.
How is that demonstrated?
So they would have to either show through retention a stormwater pond, or some other structure, whether it be underground or other, or they could get creative and do some low impact development type, like rain gardens or pervious pavements and things of that nature to help with that. But they would have to demonstrate all of that as part of their submittal, that they're not putting out or discharging any more water than what they were before during the rainfall.
And that would be like through an engineering report of some sort?
That's correct.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I'd like to move to amend the ordinance to read from NC-15 to NC 6.1.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposes? Now we will need to vote on this amendment. All those in favor? Well, we've got a
Maybe more discussion.
more. Do we need a motion? So now we vote on the motion that he just did.
No, we already did amend it.
Second, start your discussion. And you amended it as part of the discussion, so now you go to the main motion.
Okay, so now we're going to the main motion. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. Okay, now we can move on. Okay, next we will have Bill number 2025-13. This is an ordinance to amend the budget for fiscal year of beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30th, 2025.
Good afternoon.
Did I have a,
Second.
all right, okay.
The objective of the proposed ordinance is to align budget amounts more closely with actual revenues and expenditures. As you know, we're 8.5 months into the current fiscal year. Things have changed since the budget was initially adopted at June 30th, 2024. The city has received several grants and state appropriations that we were hopeful for, but not guaranteed. So part of those are the city received $1.25 million from the State Appropriations Act for the purchase of a fire engine and associated equipment to provide public benefit. So we're amending for that. There's also various smaller grants. We received a hazard mitigation grant through FEMA for purchase of a generator for the Pine Street water plant. Timrod Park, we received a grant from Longleaf for $50,000 to pay for rehabilitation for recreation facilities there. These were just grants that the directors went after during the year that we're not 100% sure on whether or not we were going to receive them or not. So we're going to amend both the revenues and expenditures for those. Also a part of this, we have 2 carry forwards that were not picked up earlier in the year. One is for 2 sanitation trucks. These were appropriated in the fiscal year 2023-2024 budget. Just due to timing and everything, they were not actually bought and paid for during that budget, so we're just moving this appropriations over into the current year.
All right. Any discussion? What say you? All those in... And it's been second, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposes? The ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Madam Mayor,
Okay.
just for information, the previous bill, 2025-12, I want to make sure we actually did the will of council on that.
Okay.
It seemed like there's a little bit, we can look at it at second reading, but I want to ensure that actually we had a motion and then we had an amended motion, and I don't know if we voted on that amended as amended, but I wanted to ensure that if not, we could check that at second. We can do it at second reading, but there's.
We can do it. We can do it now, but I'm trying to understand because we voted on the first. We made the motion on the first one, and then the second one we did, and we came back.
I don't think we said as amended in
Oh,
Councilman
as
Bailey's
And then we
second
went back to
motion.
the main, did not do
Yeah,
it.
They did.
the vote amended. Yeah.
I've done, then we're good.
So he's saying it's good.
Are we good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so, just to be clear, the motion that passed,
Was the NC 6.1?
that's all.
It's-
The motion that passed was MC 6.1, Mr. Attorney?
That is correct. We were just trying to get clarity that you did approve the amendment, and then once you amended it, the one you voted upon was the motion as amended, whether it was stated in the wording or not. Just getting clarity that was your
vote on
preference.
it?
He's saying it's good.
We're good?
You're good?
Yes. Okay, next we have introduction to resolutions. Resolution number 2025-08. This is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a facility encroachment agreement with CSX Transportation Incorporated. All right, what say you?
So move.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, Michael.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and Council. This is to allow us to construct a new 30-inch force main to go up under the railroad tracks along North Williamson Road to start a new technology industrial park. So,
Okay.
and CSX is requiring us to have the resolution before they complete their encroachment agreement for the city contract to begin work.
Great. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposes? The ayes have it. Thank you, Michael. Next, we have resolution number 2025-09, a resolution and conditional grant and development agreement to provide an incentive for the development of new housing within East Florence as a part of the ongoing neighborhood redevelopment project. This item may be discussed in executive session. Next, we have reports to council, which will be in executive session. So we will go down to B, Malden and Jenkins CPA and advisors. Presentation of the City of Florence, South Carolina Annual Comprehensive Financial Report and Audit Financial Statement by the Independent Certified Public Accounting Firm of Malden and Jenkins CPAs and advisors.
You all have any preference on which podium? Stand up? Okay.
You just got to dance if you go to that.
This one seems to be the popular one, so I'll do this one. My name's Grant Davis. I'm a partner with Malden Jenkins CPAs, and I'm here to actually present the results of our fiscal year 2024 audit of the city. Just to be kind of briefly for some housekeeping items, we've issued two separate documents. One is the financial statements themselves, that the much thicker, almost 200 pages long, and the other one is a document that we call our auditor's discussion and analysis, and that may be a little bit unique to you all, but its purpose is not, and it's basically just to communicate some things to you all that we're required to communicate by our professional standards. These are things like we're independent of the city, we didn't have any disagreements with management or any significant difficulties in conducting the audit, and again, those are memorialized in that auditor's discussion and analysis document that has been issued. But beyond that, in the city's financial statements themselves, you'll find three opinions, or I shouldn't say opinions, three reports. And I have a copy in front of me. I don't know to what extent you all do, but just briefly, the first report is our independent auditor's report on the financial statements themselves. We've issued an unmodified opinion on those financial statements. That's really not glamorous language, but that's really the only acceptable result in a financial statement audit. So again, an unmodified opinion on the financial statements as a whole. That's the first of three reports issued. The second is what we call our Yellow Book report. It's a report on internal controls and compliance with laws, regulations, grant agreements, so forth and so on. The purpose of that report is not designed to offer an opinion, but to provide what we call negative assurance, which is to say that we are required to plan and perform our audit in accordance with government auditing standards. If we identify any instances of noncompliance or internal control deficiencies, we're required to report those to you all. We noted two instances of internal control deficiencies, which I'll mention here in just a moment. but otherwise a clean report for this second of three. And then the third and final report is a compliance report. It does offer an opinion. This is basically what we call a federal single audit report. So anytime you expend in excess of $750,000 in federally sourced monies in a given fiscal year, it triggers a compliance audit by program. The city expended about $3.7 million, I believe it was. In fiscal year 24, we audited about 85% of that, so about $3.3 million in two programs. One was the CDBG program, and the other was probably what you're familiar with, the ARPA program, or the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds program. Again, about 85% of the total. This third and final report of ours is another clean opinion on compliance with the federal guidelines for spending money. So I think all in all, a positive report. The two internal control deficiencies I mentioned a moment ago, I'll just briefly mention. One was related to how inventory had been recorded in years past. That's been corrected. It was a one-time issue that's been addressed, so nothing to be concerned about in my mind. The other is what we call segregation of duties. This is really just due to staff levels in the finance office. It's hard to segregate duties to properly separate functions in an office that's small, that has relatively few employees, and especially with the turnover that office has had. So this is just a recommendation noting that in certain instances this segregation of duties environment was not adequate during the fiscal year. And again, just noting that. But again, all in all, a very positive report. I think just a brief financial highlight. I won't take up too much of your time, but the general fund is always of primary interest, and I'm sure you feel the same way. The general fund's fund balance increased by about $1.7 million in fiscal year 24, so from 23 to 24. That gives you fund balance on hand of about $26.2 million. If you look at the spending of the general fund in fiscal year 24, you had about $59 million in expenditures in the general fund. If you use that $59 million as a function or as a percentage of fund balance, it means you got about 160 days or 5.5 months of fund balance on hand at the end of fiscal year 24 in total. And I think that's a really healthy place to be if you consider what the year end is, the June year end, when your major revenue sources come in. So again, I think from our perspective, just an overall a positive report. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have, if you have any. And of course, I will say I presented this same information to the audit committee or finance committee at an earlier date.
Thank you so much. I was going to say that, Council, that this report has gone before our audit and finance committee. So we thank you for that. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you say the segregation of duties was not adequate, is that referenced in there?
Yes, ma'am. In our report?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It is. It's at the very end of the document. Begins on page 158. It's pretty vanilla, just to be honest with you. I mean, it's not going to go through and say, this person wasn't doing this or anything like that. And that's really not what it's designed to. But just to say, again, as a part of planning our audit, we do interviews and control assessments to make sure that we don't have incompatible functions, which really just lead to the opportunities for fraud or misappropriation. Of course, we don't want to gloss over any of that. So I will say, if you had to have a finding, segregation of duties is probably the most common one in a finance office, and I know that the finance office is aware of it and been working to address it.
Good. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Scotty has
Yes, sir.
something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to address those two issues that were presented. We have 3 members in our finance department, and I certainly want to commend Glenn for all the work,
Yes.
Bodenheimer for all the work that he's done to ensure that we have a clean audit. But we have 3 members in our finance department. There have been times where they've worked on the weekends and only one person is working and they are doing statements, so they didn't have that second person in. We are actively seeking to hire a finance director. That would be the 4th person, and certainly I think once we have that person in place that we would have better internal controls in that manner. The second issue that was addressed was property that was sold in 2021, and through staff's diligence, we found out that we still held that on our books, although we'd sold that property, and we made a correction in our books and certainly shared that with our auditing firm there. And again, that was an issue that we found in 2021, and that's been corrected.
Great, great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for staff, because I know this was some hard work. I came up, I'm thankful that some of you worked on Saturday, because I left some stuff in my office and Glenn had to let me in. So I thank goodness that you were here that Saturday. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor? We don't have to vote on that. It's accepted, right? It's just for information only. Next, we will have our city manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Just a few items to bring to your attention. We've all heard about the tragic fires that we've had in Horry County recently. As I've talked to most of you about, our Florence Fire Department worked tirelessly to help our neighbors there. We've worked 6 straight days in Horry County. We sent an engine company down for 6 days, and they did 24-hour shifts for those 6 days there. Again, our citizens in Florence certainly was covered. We did have, again, equipment. Thanks to a lot of the purchases we've done over the last couple of years, we were able to send an engine company down and assist in that area. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and they all made it back safe. City University is our 7-week session about all things city. The deadline to apply is today. We do limit it to about 25 participants. That deadline is today, so certainly we're asking the public to go online, cityofflorence.com, to sign up to apply for City University. Minority and Small Business Seminar is March 20th. That'll be at 6 p.m. here at the City Council Chambers, and we'll talk about how to do business with the City of Florence. There, 6 p.m. Right here. That deadline to sign up was March 7th, but we certainly will take any and all participants there. We are also working with Coastal Carolina on asking for community input on a parks and recreation survey. We've talked about live, work, and play, and Parks and Rec is certainly an integral part of the City of Florence. We're asking the public to participate in a survey so we can determine what is needed, any changes if necessary in our park system. We do have a survey online at thecityofflorence.com, and that is due March 17th. And thank you. This concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Scotty. Next, we have the mayor's report. I guess I want to bring awareness to March is Women's Month, and it's a time to recognize the achievement, strength, and resilience of women across the world. This month is not just about reflecting on the past, but also shaping the future where gender equality is not just an aspiration, but it is a reality. So happy Women's Month to my women. Next, we have Scotty and myself and Michael went to D.C. and we had a very successful meeting with our constituents there in D.C. Our visit was directly following President Trump's directive putting a hold on unlawfully allocated fundings to government agencies, state and local governments. But we had a very, very successful meeting, even though there are some things that are a little unsure. They are still our partners and willing to work with us. Some programs are exempt from funding, but still our stuff is pending, and that is a good thing. Congressman Fry was able to secure an authorization in the House Water Resources and Development Act for the city of Florence in the amount of $40 million. An interior appropriations bill in the amount of $2.25 million for the city water treatment plant expansion and upgrades. So we are really excited that our partnership there on the federal level is still going strong, and we look forward to the money coming in. But I got to say, y'all, Michael Hemingway, he knows his stuff. I mean, he got up there and he was the star of the show. I was in there and I was about to say, "You go, boy." You know, the preacher in me wanted to come out and say, "Amen." But he really did a good job. And so that's my mayor's report. And we thank you all for that. Next on the agenda, we will move to committee reports, and that will be our Business Development Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Business Development Committee met on March the 6th, and the meeting initially was postponed to March the 6th, and we had a presentation. All members of the committee were there, and the presentation was done by AECOM, who gave us a presentation on our water distribution system. And the water distribution system is a report I think it was a 2-year analysis that was done, started in 22, basically, and came forward looking at our current distribution system, how some of it can be improved by closing some of creating loops where there are some dead ends, and then looking at future growth. And we spent a lot of time looking at the areas of growth where the city anticipates growth with residential and commercial development, and then how we would bring those sources of water to those areas and where we need to continue to develop. We looked at some of the lines that are currently being put in place with some funding that has already happened, and what the needs are for additional funding over the next 10 years. And it's not to be confused with how do we get rid of the brown water issue. That's been part of our concerns. So this is more forward-looking, although creating loops and some of the work that is recommended in this program will also improve water quality. But there's another look that's happening to look at how we can immediately look at water quality in the interim while this distribution system goes forward. So it's a very comprehensive report that's been mailed to all of council. As I recall, Michael, the price tag over the next 10 years is about $125 million roughly to do all the work that needs to get done on our distribution side looking forward. That was essentially all that we had. It was a very comprehensive look, and we appreciated that. Yourself, as Councilman Braddock, do y'all have anything to add to that?
The answer is money. What's the question?
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. But it was really nice to see this, because I think the last time this report had been done had been never. So this is really the first time we have, and as we know, if you plan your work and then you can work your plan. So we now have a plan that's been presented to us, and it gives us an opportunity to seek funding, to say, here's what we're looking for, here's part of the whole, whether it's federal, state, or whichever. So I think it's a really good guide for us. And if you look at the stormwater plan that we'd had in place and the ability to where we were able to take $7 million in bonding and we got $14 million in grants to go with it. That's a good example of how having the plan can really benefit us going forward. So I'm very excited that we have this water distribution plan to go along with these other plans that we're putting in place. Thank you. That's all we have for the Business Development Committee.
Thank you. Next, we have Community Development Committee. That committee did not meet for some reason. We didn't meet on this, but I do want to say I left off on my mayor's report. We also, we met with Senators Graham's office and Congressman Fry. I left off the fact that in the meeting with Senator Graham's office, we expressed once again our appreciation for Senator Graham's assistance in securing $5 million in appropriated funds through our FY24 budget for the Florence surface water plant expansion. And I did not want to leave that out because we appreciate Senator Graham and Fry for speaking to us and us working across the aisle to get some things done. As far as the community, oh, you wanted to say something?
Fireside chats.
Oh, yes. My fireside, well, you all know about the fireside chat, and I've skipped the mayor's report, so I don't want to go back in there, but I can say it's going really well. People are getting information, and we are connecting really, really well. So as far as the community redevelopment, I have nothing to report. We will see you next month. Next, we have the Finance, Audit, and Budget Committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We met on February 26th here at the City Center. And kind of the awkward thing about being on the Finance Committee is most times everything does come to council. So you've kind of already heard everything that was presented to us prior to today's meeting. And that was, we first had an update on the budget amendment ordinance by Glenn Boldheimer. I messed his name up. I'm sorry, for Glenn. He gave us an update on it, and we already voted past that. And then secondly, we did get the more in-depth, and I know you all got the packets. We got the more in-depth version of the audit for the sake of time at the Finance Committee meeting. And again, we came back with an unmodified opinion, which is good. We're in good shape. And I want to thank staff as well as the CPA firm for getting together. I know we had a hiccup to where we had to change CPAs. Audit firms. And I know you all came together in a speedy way to get it done. So again, I want to give you all kudos for that, and that will conclude our report.
Thank you so much. Next, council, we have executive session. And in executive session, we will go in discussion regarding economic development project as referenced in the resolution. B, for the discussion regarding appointments to the city boards and commissions. And C, to receive an update regarding Project Urban Square. What say you? Motion. Second. All those in favor? The ayes have it. We now enter into executive session. And with a 5-minute break. 5 minutes.